507 horsepower, 3.9 seconds to 60 miles per hour, and a price point that undercuts the BMW X5M by nearly $18,000. The 2027 Audi SQ7 has just landed, and if you've been following the German performance SUV segment as long as I have, you know these numbers represent something Munich didn't see coming. You've owned German SUVs. You understand that specifications tell only half the story, but here's what most reviews won't tell you. Audi has fundamentally reimagined what a performance SUV should prioritize, and they've done it by studying exactly where BMW's philosophy falls short for drivers who actually use these vehicles daily. The automotive landscape has shifted dramatically since you last made a luxury SUV purchase decision. We're no longer choosing between traditional alternatives. The 2027 SQ7 arrives at a moment when the definition of performance itself is being rewritten, when the balance between capability and refinement matters more than outright aggression, and when intelligent engineering trumps brute force. This isn't about Audi finally catching up to BMW. This is about Audi taking a different path entirely, one that acknowledges how we actually drive these machines in 2027. Let me start with what sits beneath that sculpted aluminum hood, because the powertrain story here reveals Audi's entire strategy. The 2027 SQ7 carries a 4.0-liter twin-turbocharged V8 that produces 507 horsepower and 521 pound-feet of torque. Now, compare that to the X5M's 617 horsepower from its 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8, and on paper, BMW appears to dominate. But here's where it gets interesting. Audi engineered this power plant for a broader, more usable torque curve that delivers maximum twist from just 2,000 RPM and holds it steady until 6,000. The X5M makes impressive peak numbers, but its power delivery favors the upper reaches of the rev range, territory you rarely explore during your daily Alpine Pass runs or weekend drives through the Cotswolds. The implications become clear when you consider real-world driving dynamics. That SQ7 will sprint to 60 miles per hour in 3.9 seconds, reach 109.1 seconds, and top out at an electronically limited 180 miles per hour. The X5M does the same sprint in 3.8 seconds, 1/10 of a second. In exchange for that marginal advantage, you're managing a vehicle that drinks premium fuel at an alarming rate, demands more frequent service intervals, and exhibits a restlessness in normal driving that becomes tiresome on your third hour, heading south through France or your morning commute through Stuttgart traffic. But there's something BMW didn't anticipate, and it relates directly to how Audi calibrated the 8-speed automatic transmission that channels power to all four wheels. Where BMW's transmission hunts and shifts with aggressive intent, Audi's DF-sourced unit has been programmed with what their engineers call predictive efficiency mapping. The system doesn't just respond to throttle input. It analyzes gradient, traffic patterns through the vehicle's sensor array, and your historical driving behavior to select gears that optimize both performance and fuel economy. You might dismiss this as electronic overreach, but spend a week with this transmission on varied roads, and you'll recognize the sophistication. It knows when you're approaching your favorite canyon road before you've even touched the throttle. Now, let's discuss the Quattro all-wheel drive system, because this is where Audi's decades of experience create separation from BMW's xDrive. The SQ7 employs the latest iteration of Quattro, with an active sport differential and torque vectoring that can shift power, not just front to rear, but individually to each rear wheel. The default torque split sends 40% forward and 60% to the rear axle, giving the SQ7 a decidedly rear-biased character that BMW owners will appreciate. But what most reviews won't tell you is how the system behaves at the limit. Whereas drive can feel binary in its interventions, occasionally breaking the flow of a spirited drive with abrupt corrections, Quattro operates with graduated precision. You can feel it working, sensing the redistribution of torque as you carry speed through a decreasing radius turn, but it never disrupts your rhythm. The sport differential deserves particular attention because Audi has refined this component to a degree that changes the vehicle's character entirely. Under hard acceleration exiting a corner, the system can overdrive the outside rear wheel by as much as 100%, effectively rotating the SQ7 with throttle application alone. This isn't just theoretical capability. On the right road, with the dampers in their sportiest setting and the stability control in its most permissive mode, the SQ7 exhibits rotation characteristics that seem impossible for a vehicle weighing 5,137 pounds. Speaking of weight, let's address the dimensional and mass specifications because they reveal important truths about how these vehicles will age and how they'll serve you over years of ownership. The SQ7 measures 199.6 inches in length, 78.7 inches in width, and 69.9 inches in height. Wheelbase stretches to 117.9 inches. Compare that to the X5M at 194.3 inches long, 78.9 inches wide, and 69.4 inches tall with a wheelbase of 117.1 inches. Nearly identical external dimensions, but here's the critical difference. Weight distribution. Audi achieves a 51 to 49% front-to-rear split compared to BMW's 54 to 46. Those few percentage points translate to more neutral handling and reduced understeer, characteristics you'll appreciate when the road turns serious. The chassis engineering goes deeper than simple weight distribution. Audi fits the SQ7 with adaptive air suspension as standard equipment, a system featuring 3-chamber technology that can vary spring rates across a remarkably wide range. In comfort mode, the SQ7 isolates occupants from road imperfections with a suppleness that seems incongruous with 22-inch wheels and 40-profile tires. Raise the drive mode selector to dynamic, and the system firms damping by 47%, lowers ride height by 15 millimeters, and fundamentally alters the vehicle's personality. But there's something BMW didn't anticipate with their steel spring setup on the X5M. Audi's air suspension includes a self-leveling function that maintains optimal geometry regardless of load. Fill the cargo area for a weekend away, load 4 adults and their luggage, and the SQ7 maintains its design suspension geometry and ride height. The X5M, even with its adaptive dampers, cannot match this capability. Remember that feature I mentioned earlier, the one that changes everything? We're getting closer, but first, we need to discuss what sits behind those massive 6-piston front brake calipers. The SQ7 comes equipped with 400mm ventilated and cross-drilled rotors up front, gripped by calipers, finished in black as standard or available in red for those who prefer visual drama. Rear axle features 370mm discs with single-piston floating calipers. The entire system is engineered to provide consistent, fade-free performance during extended high-speed driving. What most reviews won't tell you is how Audi calibrated the brake pedal feel. Where modern performance vehicles often suffer from inconsistent pedal travel and feel due to brake-by-wire systems and aggressive regenerative strategies, the SQ7 maintains old-school hydraulic directness. You can modulate braking force with precision, feeling exactly what's happening at the tire contact patches. For drivers accustomed to the communicative brake systems of earlier German performance cars, this attention to detail matters enormously. Let's move inside, because the cabin environment reveals Audi's understanding of what matters to buyers in this demographic. You've owned enough luxury vehicles to recognize the difference between impressive initial presentation and materials that age gracefully. The SQ7's interior employs Valcona leather as standard, a full-grain hide that develops character rather than deterioration over years of use. The dashboard features real aluminum inlays, not the photographically reproduced wood or metal-look plastics that cheapen so many modern luxury vehicles. Audi's build quality, particularly in their German-produced vehicles, maintains the standards that established the marque's reputation. Shut the door, and you hear that characteristic thunk that communicates mass, precision, and durability. The panel gaps remain consistent. The switchgear operates with damp precision. These details matter when you're making a 6-figure investment. The seating position deserves discussion because Audi has optimized the SQ7 for drivers who actually pilot their vehicles rather than simply occupying them. The sport seats provide aggressive bolstering through the shoulders and thighs while maintaining comfort during extended drives. Lumbar support adjusts in 4 directions. The seat base can be lengthened to support taller drivers properly. Crucially, the steering wheel adjusts for both reach and rake through a wide enough range to accommodate drivers from 5 feet 4 inches to well over 6 feet. You sit lower in the SQ7 than in the X5M, with a hip point that's 23 millimeters closer to the road surface. This might seem trivial, but it fundamentally changes how connected you feel to the vehicle's dynamics. Here's where it gets interesting from a technology standpoint, because Audi has resisted the temptation to overwhelm the cabin with screens and digital interfaces. Yes, There's a 12.3-inch virtual cockpit display replacing traditional instrumentation, and the center console features a 10.1-inch touchscreen for infotainment and vehicle settings. But Audi retained physical controls for climate functions, drive mode selection, and volume adjustment. As someone who's experienced the frustration of nested menu systems while trying to adjust cabin temperature on a cold morning in Munich or change drive modes while approaching your favorite back road, you'll appreciate this restraint. The rotary controller for the infotainment system remains, providing tactile feedback and precise menu navigation that touchscreens simply cannot match. The digital instrument cluster proves particularly thoughtful in execution. Unlike systems that simply replicate analog gauges with pixels, Audi's virtual cockpit can reconfigure itself based on drive mode and your preferences. Select dynamic mode, and the tachometer dominates the display with a layout that echoes the instrument panels of Audi's racing programs. Choose efficiency mode, and the emphasis shifts to energy consumption and range information. Most importantly, the graphics remain legible in all lighting conditions, from bright Mediterranean sunshine to the dim light of a Scandinavian winter afternoon. The refresh rate is high enough that the digital tachometer needle moves with the same fluidity as a mechanical unit. These details separate thoughtful implementation from mere technology demonstration. But there's something BMW didn't anticipate when they designed the X5M's interior, and it relates to long-term ownership satisfaction. Audi engineered the SQ7's infotainment system with true over-the-air update capability that extends beyond simple map refreshments. The vehicle can receive fundamental software updates that improve powertrain calibration, enhance driver assistance features, and add entirely new functionality. We're not discussing theoretical capability here. Audi has demonstrated that 2024 and 2025 model year vehicles received meaningful updates that improved everyday usability. For buyers planning to own their SQ7 for 7 or 8 years, this ensures the vehicle won't feel dated as software and interface expectations evolve. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the question that separates genuine enthusiasts from casual observers. How does the SQ7 actually drive? I've spent extensive time in both this and the X5M on roads ranging from California's Highway 1 to Germany's unrestricted Autobahn sections, from Alpine passes to British B-roads. The fundamental difference comes down to philosophy. BMW engineered the X5M to dominate, to overwhelm, to remind you constantly that you're piloting a performance machine. Audi calibrated the SQ7 to serve, to adapt, to excel across the broadest possible range of conditions, while maintaining genuine performance capability when you demand it. On a flowing 2-lane road with elevation changes and varied surface quality, the SQ7 reveals its true character. The steering, electrically assisted but carefully tuned, provides consistent weighting and builds effort naturally as lateral forces increase. It's not the most communicative system ever fitted to a performance vehicle, but it's considerably more informative than BMW's current electric power steering calibration. You can place the SQ7 with precision, trusting the front end to track your intended line. Mid-corner, that sport differential works its magic, allowing you to adjust your trajectory with throttle application. The all-wheel drive system maintains traction while allowing just enough slip at the rear axle to communicate what's happening beneath you. Exit the corner with confidence, and the V8 delivers its power with a linear, progressive quality that makes the SQ7 feel smaller and more agile than its mass suggests. What most reviews won't tell you is how the SQ7 behaves during the 98% of driving that isn't spirited backroad exploration. Cruising at Autobahn speeds, the cabin remains remarkably serene. Wind noise stays well controlled up to 150 miles per hour. The air suspension isolates you from the broken pavement that plagues too many European highways. The seats remain comfortable during 4-hour stints. The engine operates at low RPM, burning fuel at a reasonable rate and emitting a muted V8 burble that reminds you of the performance available without overwhelming conversation. This is where the SQ7's additional refinement over the X5M becomes apparent. BMW's performance SUV never fully relaxes. It's always on edge, always reminding you of its capability, always sacrificing some comfort in service of ultimate performance. For weekend track days, that might be appropriate. For the realities of daily driving, it becomes tiresome. The sound deserves specific mention because Audi has resisted the temptation to artificially enhance the V8's voice through the audio system. What you hear is genuine, mechanical, honest. At idle, the engine produces a subdued rumble. Under moderate acceleration, it maintains a cultured refinement appropriate for a luxury vehicle. Open the throttle completely, and the V8 emits a progressively louder bellow that builds to a crescendo at 6,000 RPM. The sound isn't as theatrical as the X5M's synthesized fury, but it's more authentic, more satisfying for those who remember when exhaust notes weren't curated by sound engineers and speakers. The optional sport exhaust system, should you specify it, adds an extra dimension of character without becoming obnoxious in residential areas or during early morning departures. Let's discuss ownership economics, because at this stage of your automotive journey, total cost of ownership matters as much as purchase price. The SQ7 carries a starting price of approximately $104,000 in the United States market, €102,000 in Germany, and £93,000 in the United Kingdom. The X5M starts at $122,000, €119,000, and £108,000 respectively. That's $18,000, €17,000, or £15,000 before you've selected the single option. Both vehicles will accumulate options quickly. Metallic paint, upgraded leather, advanced driver assistance packages, premium audio systems. These additions can easily push total cost up by $20,000 to $30,000. But the SQ7 maintains its price advantage throughout the specification process. Here's where it gets interesting from a residual value perspective. Historical data from markets like Germany and the UK, where both brands enjoyed strong reputations and established dealer networks, shows that Audi SQ models maintain remarkably consistent depreciation curves. The combination of conservative production numbers, strong brand cachet, and genuine performance capability means these vehicles hold value well. Industry analysts predict the 2027 SQ7 will retain approximately 58 to 62% of its original value after 3 years and 36,000 miles. The X5M, despite its higher initial price and greater performance, typically retains 54 to 58% over the same period. The delta narrows over time, but for buyers who trade vehicles every 3 to 4 years, that difference represents thousands of dollars in retained equity. Maintenance costs favor the SQ7 as well, though perhaps not as dramatically as you might expect. Both vehicles demand synthetic oil changes at intervals specified by their onboard monitoring systems, typically every 10,000 to 12,000 miles under normal driving conditions. Both require brake fluid changes every 2 years. Both need transmission service at longer intervals. Where costs diverge is in brake wear and tire consumption. The X5M's more aggressive setup and higher performance envelope mean you'll replace brake pads and rotors more frequently. Those 617 horses encourage more enthusiastic driving, which translates to increased tire wear. Real-world ownership reports from European markets suggest annual maintenance costs for the X5M run 15 to 20% higher than comparable Audi SQ models. Fuel economy, while not the primary consideration for buyers in this segment, deserves mention because the differences reveal each manufacturer's engineering priorities. The SQ7 achieves EPA estimated ratings of 15 miles per gallon in city driving, 21 on the highway, and 17 combined. European WLTP testing shows similar results, with combined consumption around 13.6 liters per 100 kilometers. The X5M manages 13 city, 18 highway, and 15 combined in EPA testing, with WLTP figures around 15.2 liters per 100 kilometers. Over 20,000 miles annually, that difference amounts to approximately 300 gallons or 1,000 liters, representing real money even for buyers who don't obsess over fuel costs. More importantly, the SQ7's superior efficiency translates to greater range between fill-ups, a practical advantage during long-distance travel. But there's something BMW didn't anticipate regarding practicality and everyday usability. The SQ7 offers 85.7 cubic feet of cargo capacity, with the second-row seats folded, compared to 72.3 cubic feet in the X5M. That's over 13 cubic feet of additional volume, enough to make a meaningful difference when loading luggage for extended trips or transporting larger items. The SQ7's rear cargo floor sits lower as well, making it easier to load heavy objects. The powered tailgate opens to a greater height, providing improved access. These might seem like minor considerations, but remember, you're purchasing a vehicle to use, not just to admire. The ability to carry 4 adults and their luggage, For a week in the Alps or a tour through Tuscany without playing Tetris with bags matters. The second-row seating environment proves superior in the SQ7 as well. Despite nearly identical wheelbases, Audi packaged the interior more efficiently, providing an additional inch of rear legroom. The seat cushions sit slightly higher, creating a more commanding view forward while maintaining adequate headroom. The rear climate control system operates more quietly than BMW's setup. Your passengers will notice these differences, particularly on longer journeys. Given that many buyers in this segment use these vehicles for family duty as well as solo driving enjoyment, the SQ7's more accommodating rear quarters represent a genuine advantage. Now we arrive at that unexpected feature I mentioned at the beginning, the element that changes the value equation entirely. Audi offers the SQ7 with an optional Performance Plus package that includes a mechanical limited-slip rear differential, carbon ceramic brakes, and dynamic all-wheel steering. The entire package costs $8,000. To match just the carbon ceramic brakes on the X5M requires a $9,000 option. The all-wheel steering system, which can turn the rear wheels up to 5 degrees in the opposite direction of the fronts at low speeds and up to 2 degrees in the same direction at higher speeds, transforms the SQ7's character. Low-speed maneuverability improves dramatically, with the turning circle shrinking from 39.4 feet to 36.1 feet. High-speed stability and agility both improve, as the system effectively shortens or lengthens the wheelbase depending on conditions. What most reviews won't tell you is how these systems interact during dynamic driving. The rear-wheel steering, sport differential, and torque vectoring quattro system work in concert, creating a level of adjustability and precision that seems impossible from a vehicle of this size and mass. You can place the SQ7 with remarkable accuracy, trusting it to hold your line while simultaneously feeling the rear axle supplely steering and the differential managing individual wheel torque. It's sophisticated, integrated, and remarkably effective. BMW offers similar technology on the X5M, but as a considerably more expensive option that pushes the vehicle's total price into truly stratospheric territory. The carbon ceramic brakes deserve particular attention because they represent one of the few areas where optional equipment genuinely transforms the ownership experience. The standard steel brakes provide excellent performance for normal driving and occasional spirited use. But if you regularly explore mountain roads, if you occasionally participate in track events, or if you simply want the absolute best braking performance available, the carbon ceramics justify their cost. They resist fade during repeated hard stops from high speeds. They weigh significantly less than steel equivalents, reducing unsprung mass and improving suspension response. They last far longer, with many owners reporting pad and rotor life exceeding 100,000 miles. Yes, replacement costs are substantial when that time arrives, but over the vehicle's ownership life, the improved performance and reduced maintenance frequency offset much of the initial premium. Let's address driving assistance and safety technology. Because these systems have evolved significantly in recent years, the SQ7 comes standard with adaptive cruise control that can maintain set speeds up to 160 miles per hour on unrestricted Autobahn sections. The system includes stop-and-go capability for traffic situations, though it requires driver attention through steering input every 15 seconds. Lane-keeping assistance provides gentle steering corrections rather than the aggressive interventions some systems employ. Blind spot monitoring, rear cross-traffic alert, and a surround view camera system all come standard. The optional Audi Pre-Sense system adds predictive capabilities, monitoring surrounding traffic and preparing the vehicle for potential collisions by pre-tensioning seatbelts, closing windows, and optimizing airbag deployment. Here's where it gets interesting from a philosophical standpoint. Audi calibrated these systems to assist without overwhelming, to enhance safety without diminishing driver engagement.